Welcome, everybody. I am really excited to be here with you this evening, and joining us today is Dr. Cody Creelman. Cody has become an old friend. We've called upon him a couple of times to give some really wonderful talks at the Global Vet Career Summit. He was one of our TED Talk style speakers, and then at the Big Student Careers Fair, he was our headliner for the Canadian and North American team. So we're really excited to have you here, Cody, to talk about your career and to hear about some roles that you have at Fenvet and what you've built with your vision for Fenvet and where you're at. So I'll welcome you here.
Thank you very much for having me on.
So Cody, without further ado, maybe I'll let you introduce yourself. And so we've got some people from Ontario and also from Vancouver, Washington as well, and then on Facebook group from other places in the United States too. So maybe I'll let you introduce yourself, Cody, and tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I will try not to be too long-winded on the introduction, but I am here in Airdrie, Alberta, which is essentially a bedroom community of Calgary. I think most people know of the Calgary area. I actually grew up on a farm in far northern Alberta on a mixed cow-calf ranch. And that's where I fell in love with veterinary medicine at my local small town vet clinic when I was 16 years old. And I have not looked back. In veterinary school, I very much thought that I would go into mixed animal practice. I loved every aspect of veterinary school. Everybody thinks that I'm crazy when I say if I had a magic button to press and that I could go do the vet school experience over again, I would in a heartbeat. I absolutely loved it so much. And it's just such a great time in your life with so much personal development. I think when I look back, of course, with rose-colored glasses. I had always assumed that I was going to go into mixed animal practice right up into my final year of vet school. And I fell in love with the Calgary region just on a whim, actually. I had never really been to Calgary, even though I'm from Alberta. And just by happenstance, my wife and I ended up staying in Calgary for about a week for a little vacation. And that's where we fell in love with the area. And as a vet school was progressing, I decided to apply to a bunch of mixed animal jobs locally. And then there was this one kind of outlier, which ended up being a cattle practice. And so while I thought I was going to be mixed, the stars aligned, and I thought I would try out this cow vet thing for a year or two and see if I enjoyed it. And if worse came to worse, then I could just go back into rural mixed practice and the rest would be history. So I joined a cattle practice when I graduated, and that was back in 2011, and really, really loved it. I think what I love the most, the same thing that I love in companion animal medicine, is just the human aspect of things, right? The hanging out with farmers all day is pretty awesome. You get fed really well, and they are truly the salt of the earth people. So it wasn't necessarily, cattle medicine being my passion, but I just really loved, working with the farmers and being able to do everything that we did with the farmers as well. 2 years into that practice, I was offered partnership, and I had never really thought about business, honestly. Prior to that, I had just always had my head down, thinking about being a veterinarian. That was my passion. And when the opportunity came, I jumped in with both feet and had an incredible experience over about a 6-year period after that, where I really got to grow and develop as a manager, as a business owner. And that was really good. And during that time as well, I was part of a new startup where we were investing into rural mixed animal practices. So I got to go back to my roots of rural mixed animal practice, got to learn even more about practice management from that regard. We owned a number of clinics across Alberta and Saskatchewan. And in 2019, I ended up divesting out of that group and my cow vet practice. And essentially that gave me a clean slate to reimagine what the next phase of my career would look like. And we can talk about that a little more, but that's where the idea of Fenvet came along.
Nice. Now I'm going to also ask you, so because there's probably a piece in here that everybody knows you for, which is your Palpation Nation and your YouTube stardom in the veterinary world. So tell me a little bit about how that got started and how that fits in with this, I don't know, this this career story, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always very fun to meet up with some of my old professors and veterinary technologists from vet school now, because they are just always in disbelief, because I was actually a pretty shy student. I was pretty quiet, pretty head down, the quintessential farm boy going through vet school. I was not at all sort of like this exuberant, speak my mind sort of individual. But as I entered into practice ownership, that's where I really started to solidify, this concept around marketing, and got really excited about, this can be a good differentiator for any business, just being able to have, I guess, not be scared of putting yourself out there, to talking to an audience, to help do a lot of different things. So there was multiple aspects to that. It started in 2015, very organically on Twitter, me just sort of getting my feet wet with social media, recognizing that there's only a few different mediums that we can communicate through as humans. So the written word, so that's, what Twitter is all about, through audio, things like podcasts, or through video. We don't really have any other communication devices that we use as humans. And through several years of me just sort of getting my feet wet with social media, that's when I realized that I had a little bit better of a knack for video communication than I did for written word, or that I did for audio. And that's when I started thinking, what if I started sharing this sort of like chronological storytelling of my life as a veterinarian? It started on Snapchat. It actually started on Vine, but nobody remembers the video app Vine, and started on Snapchat, just like sharing my ideas, sharing my story, sharing my cases. And as that started to grow organically, I was just wanting to take it to the next level. And that's when I started a YouTube channel and Facebook, and kind of this this personal brand of Cody Creelman. Once again, just very authentic, telling my story as a husband, as a father, as a practice owner, as a veterinarian, as a friend, and sharing that story over and over again from 2015 until now. That's it, just kind of that authentic sort of thing that kind of glimpse into the humanity of veterinary medicine that oftentimes is not so prevalent. It's a lot more common now, 7 years later, than it was back in 2015. Certainly we have far more Instagram veterinary influencers and stuff like that, but back in the day, it was not really something that anybody did, to just share your story.
Yeah, I thought I think that one of the most memorable ones that I can recall was you taking your kids to go do some postmortems. And I remember them sitting up on like a little ledge or something. And I thought, oh, this is so interesting, because I was an equine veterinarian. And so thinking about, just thinking about that piece about the intersection of family life and also being, and also being, and also being a professional. So it's kind of, I just remember that one very clearly. It was pretty vivid.
Yeah, I think the one of them sitting on the ledge was actually calving. It was a dead calf calving at a feedlot, and they were just sitting there, eyes wide, watching Dad use a calf jack on this calf. So yeah, good life lessons.
It is good life lessons. Yeah, it's always good. So tell me a bit about Fenvet. And so you decided to start this practice. Tell me what made you start it, and maybe the story behind it.
Yeah, so the two common themes are I have never lost the passion for veterinary medicine, and it's not just the medicine itself, but I've always been passionate about everything. I'm passionate about veterinary students. I'm passionate about the history of veterinary medicine, the future of veterinary medicine, the news of veterinary medicine, the business side of veterinary medicine, and then also the medicine side. So that has always been in my heart since day one, when I was 16 years old and walked into the Beaver Lodge Vet Clinic. That has not changed. And then as I evolved, that business side is really what I loved maybe the most, or at least a huge proportion. That I love leading teams. I love bringing people together. I love creating that mission, creating that goal, and working towards that. So I really loved my time as a business owner. So as I divested out of the groups that I was was with, like I said, I had this clean slate, and I just kept thinking, what is the next chapter of my life going to look like? Is it going to look the same? Am I going to start a solo bovine practice and tackle the world? And the more and more that I thought about it, I started to develop this concept around Fenvet. So how that all evolved was me just really trying to delve deep into what is a vet clinic and what is the business of a vet clinic, and starting to pair out and decide, what is the thing that I think there is the greatest opportunity to do. So I actually just started scribbling on a piece of paper, piece of loose leaf. I still have it. What does a vet clinic do? We treat animals. Now, do vet clinics do a great job of doing that or not a great job of doing that? And I made this kind of graph. And of course, most vet clinics do an amazing job at treating our patients. Then I wrote down the word food. Okay, so some vet clinics sell food and do a great job, and some vet clinics don't. Surgery, boarding, grooming. I just went on and on about all of the different functions as a vet clinic. And I landed on, these kind of opportunities that I thought existed that nobody was really delving deep in and forming their business around. And that's when I started thinking about really strongly, what if we focus just on amazing, exceptional customer experience? I call it 7 stars out of 5. So we know what a 5-star vet clinic experience typically looks like. And I was wondering, could we ratchet that up to just blow people's minds when they walk into the door of their veterinary clinic? I really wanted to focus on innovation. That's another strategy for us. Where can we incorporate innovation and technology and new schools of thought into our veterinary clinic? Because I think that's really important, to always be evolving, to never be stuck in one place. And then finally, I recognized, which is the central theme of the industry right now, of how important it is to take care of our team. So community and culture became sort of the third pillar that I identified that I think that the industry could really improve upon. And it's not that I identified every single thing within the industry that could be improved upon. I picked the 3 things that I'm the most passionate about. I love exceptional customer experience. I love receiving it, and I love giving it. And I always have, even from being in a cow vet practice. I've always been a technophile. I always have, right from high school, I was always getting Popular Science magazine and reading through what the new technologies of humanity are going to bring. So that part's really important to me. That's why I had jumped into social media. I've always loved, that next sort of evolution of what is going to happen. And then the core people part, like I had mentioned before, I love building teams. I love curating culture. And of course, we all know how important that is to the operations of a veterinary clinic. So through all of that, it became really, really clear to me in terms of our mission of Fenvet. And I know it sounds lofty, and I know it sounds a little bit hokey, but our mission is truly, can we reimagine the veterinary care experience? Can we reimagine what a vet clinic should be? And how we do that is we just really focus on every single small aspect of what a vet clinic is. And we just think to ourselves, is this the best way to do it with the resources and that we have here in 2022? I'll give you an example of that. One would be the typical receptionist role within a veterinary clinic. We can all picture what that typically looks like. You have the big monolithic desk with CSRs behind it. The phones are ringing off the hook. We hear the phrase, "Is this an emergency, or can you please hold?" You have a lineup of clients trying to check out. Behind that monolithic desk, you have that new person walking into the clinic for the first time, and they're standing there anxious and nervous, and nobody's even making eye contact with them, because the second the CSR makes eye contact with you, they have to address you, and they've got 3 people on hold and somebody waiting to check out. So, what does that mean in terms of the Fenvet experience? We don't have on-site reception. We don't have on-site CSR. We use a virtual service. So all of our calls go to a central call center that is connected to our PIMS, that is connected to Slack, that is connected to us. And they're a professional team that is able to manage that chaos that is the phone system in most veterinary clinics. And when you walk into Fenvet, you're greeted by two amazing client care coordinators who are standing there smiling, not holding a phone in front of a non-monolithic desk, ready to start your appointment. So the second you walk into a clinic, our clinic, every single time, your appointment is started. You're greeted by name, your dog's greeted by name, liver treats galore onto the recessed scale to get the weight, and they go directly into the room. Like, all of that is possible in 2022, but it wasn't possible in 1992, right? We didn't have voice over internet protocols. We didn't have Slack. We didn't have cloud-based PIMs. So we didn't have Google Calendar. So of course, veterinary medicine had to have their CSR role the way that it is. But what happened is nobody rethought it every single year of like, what is the best way? Or is this still the best way to do it? Is this still the best way to do it? And you get to a point and you can move the needle. And so it's just one small example of, the detail that we think. And when I talk about our mission, reimagine veterinary care experience, those are the types of things that I'm talking about. And I'm not saying that we have figured it all out. I've been very, very clear with the team that Fenvet is just as much of a test kitchen or a mad science experiment as it is a vet clinic, where it's not that I had it all figured out and the team comes in and operates within the system, that everybody has that permission to challenge paradigms, and everybody can feel safe and secure in coming to me and saying like, this is going to be a better way. We need to be thoughtful in this. So that's where it all came from. And once I started on that path of thinking about what Fenvet could be, that's what got me excited more than anything else that I could imagine in the world, to be able to create this new type of veterinary clinic, to put together this team where we curate culture, innovation, and customer experience. And the rest is history.
Nice. So I get the impression, Cody, that, and I think you sort of said this, that this would be a workplace where you could definitely bring new ideas, and you could say, I wonder if you've thought of this, or I wonder about this, or I wonder if we have to do it this way. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think about that because you often hear from new, and in my role with the DVM project, I hear from new grads or people who have gone through a couple of workplaces, and they feel frustrated because they've brought ideas, or they've, or they're stuck in a place where there's no interest in using new technology, or we're using paper records, or we're using something that's like super archaic, and it really, I feel like it gets a lot of people down.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
even that piece about being able to bring your whole self, or bring your ideas, because most of us have, as veterinarians, we're real innovator. We do like to innovate. We like to think of new ways to do things with our patients and with our practices too. It's so great to hear that. So do you have any ideas of how your staff have improved Fenvet, or any ways that they've brought new ideas to make things better?
Yeah, absolutely. So right from the get-go, I had this core sort of fundamental mission and the strategy we were going to use to get there. And before we even launched and opened our doors, we had our first foundational team together for 6 weeks, where we could delve into every little detail. So for example, to go back to the client care coordinator, I worked intimately with her, to our first client care coordinator, to be able to come up with the scripting of when a new client or any client walks into the doors, of what is that experience going to feel like. So with her, I was able to discuss, what does that look like? How does the timing work? When they walk into the exam room, we are able to, make them feel at ease, but also just think about all of the different sort of pinch points that might exist within that interaction. An example would be, this is one of my favorite examples, would be when you go into a doctor's office and you're sitting in the exam room, it is the most boring place in the world, and you feel too embarrassed to even take out your phone, right? Because you don't want the doctor to walk in and think that you're some sort of slovenly person who's just on their TikTok 24/7, and they're not going to take you seriously. Like that's truly how we view things. We're just sitting there clammed up, staring straight forward, just ready for that doctor to walk in. in and our blood pressure is through the roof and our anxiety is through the roof. So what my client care coordinator was able to identify is, why don't we give them permission to use their phone every single time? And how do we do that? We say, please feel free to look at your phone, and the Wi-Fi is Fenvet public, and the password is puppy kiss. And she identified that the password to be puppy kiss just because it's cute. It made you smile when I said it, and we say it every single time to make them smile. You eliminate their defense system, right? Things too as well with that interaction. So they take the base history. We're checking off everything that we need for our check-in procedure. At Fenvet, we actually offer our clients nitro cold brew coffee, sparkling water, flavored flat water, or hot coffee. And my client care coordinator was able to identify that if you ask just somebody, do you want something to drink? Then most people will say no, right? Because they're anxious. So we reframe the question in the scripting is, which would you prefer? Right? So just really, really delving deep into the details of those interactions. So that's one small example.
Nice. I love that. So it sounds like you're continually innovating and you're continually revising things. Is that right? When you're kind of, when you've noticed that something isn't working, or you notice there's kind of a block in something?
Absolutely. And that expectation was set from day one, that once again, that we're never going to get it perfect, but it's a place where we feel safe and have permission to be able to continually evolve, because that's what needs to happen, right? You're not going to get it right and then keep it at the 2021 level and never evolve and change. You have to change, and you have to be cognizant of that. You have to make it an active process.
Right. And then talk to me a little bit about the pillar that you talked about with taking care of your people. So I get the part about them bringing ideas, which is that huge opening up of that would be really exciting for, I would certainly find that very interesting as an employee, but so tell me about taking care of them and that piece of it.
Yeah. So the first part in every sort of conversation that we have will always come from the mission first, right? Making sure, and that's my job, that the mission is clearly identified, that we are here to reimagine the veterinary care experience, utilizing innovation, utilizing practice culture, and utilizing customer experience. So that is, first and foremost in front of their minds, right? And when it comes to that culture piece, we talk very openly about the things that we know we don't want within a veterinary clinic. We are a seasoned team, so there is a lot of experience, and we've seen everything in our collective wisdom of how you have the talented veterinarian who's the high producer who also happens to be the jerk, right? It's never the low performing terrible veterinarian that's also a jerk, because those things don't go along, right? And we've all seen those situations eat and erode at a practice culture. And I have promised the team that I will protect that at all costs, no matter, the financial hit, no matter, the workload hit, that we all have committed to making sure that we are going to continually strive to have the best practice culture possible through open lines of communication. An example would be right now, tomorrow, we're taking half a day off, and we have 4 hours of team continuing education where we are working on communication, and it's very open and very, I guess, focused in everybody knowing that this is necessary for us to continue to preserve that practice culture. We did another 4 hours last week, once again just continually working on that practice culture. So I could talk more about specific examples if anything comes to mind, but that's the overarching theme, that the team understands that I will protect that. I will protect them. I will protect the culture that we've worked so hard to develop. And we've had to have those very serious situations already, because people just weren't working out, or we had to have frank, kind but candor conversations with employees. And it's been extremely well received, because we have all seen situations in other clinics when it's not addressed, where we're not focused on it, that it can really quickly degrade that practice culture.
Nice. So there's a question in the chat, which I'm going to come to in a second, but I do want to talk a little bit more about, I just want to delve into that piece. You mentioned candor. So are you talking about kind of radical candor where you're just feeling or what does that mean to you when you're talking about managing some of those? Somebody thinks that somebody has a beef with what's happened, maybe even with you, or how would that be handled in your practice?
Exactly. Just that they know that there is that safety in that conversation, that we're both coming with the same sort of goal in mind, that we have that same mission, and that we can talk openly about that without repercussions.
I love that. And that's surprisingly kind of a rarity sometimes in veterinary medicine. So that's great to hear. So we've got a question from a student, second year student at the Ontario Veterinary College, wondering if Fenvet has opportunities for students, and do you take students for externship or rotations?
Yes, absolutely. We have already. So the easiest thing to do is just to email us at info@fenvet.com. We do limit to 2 students per rotation. So we don't want to overbook. We want to provide the students with the best possible experience. And we do also limit to a maximum of 2 weeks, once again, to be able to allow those students that are in the queue to have a potential opportunity with us as well.
Nice. Okay, thank you. And then question for you as well, I guess around, I got a DM from someone about talking about what's it like to be a working parent at your clinic.
Yeah, so that was another very interesting thing. And the one thing that we defined right off the bat with that core original team is identifying that we all have different needs as working parents or just working humans. It doesn't have to be a parent to have, outside commitments and needs within a veterinary clinic, and that we all recognized, and I reinforce this daily, if not daily, then weekly, that the reason that we all bust our butts so hard when we're in the clinic is so we can take care of each other when one of us is not there. So it is very, very clear that if somebody is out sick, that they don't need to feel guilty for that we will cover them, because we know that kindness is reciprocated back to us when we're the one that's on the floor and that has to pick up the slack. So I identified with the team that it will always be fluid in terms of your needs as well. We can't just set like, hey, you want to be 3 days a week and 8 months later that's not working for you. That we will always continually evolve, and all they have to do is ask, and it is my job to be able to make the rest work. So for example, I have a veterinary technologist that comes in at 7:30 and leaves at 4:30 religiously because she has child care commitments. I have a client care coordinator who cannot come in till 9 a.m. because she has child care commitments. So we have staggered work starting time. I have another technologist that comes in at 8:30. I have 2 technologists that work 4 days a week, because one, there's client care, or there's a child care commitment, and the other one, it's just work and lifestyle. And they recognize that, they need that extra day for them to be their best possible self. Very open conversations with my veterinarians in terms of them, is this working right now? Do you need a modified schedule? Do you need that extra time off? So it is always evolving, and we're always trying to understand each other's needs and accommodate where we can. And maybe it's a little bit easier for us being in, a bedroom community of Calgary, but having access to locums, part-time tech assistants, locum technologists, that it really gives us the opportunity to do that, because we can fill those gaps pretty fast if we need to. We do it, I swear, we do it every day. Somebody needs something that's outside of the norm, and we work really hard to make sure that when they're not here, they feel safe.
Nice. That's cool. And what about on a day-to-day basis? Like, how do you make sure that you're, I know you talked about like working hard while you're at work, and then, being done when you're done. So how do you make sure that everyone's leaving on time, or kind of protecting that piece?
Yeah, so we said and identified, and once again, this is a benefit of being in a bedroom community of Calgary, that we are just going to run standard hours. So we're 8 to 5. We don't take any sick appointments past 3:30. Only wellness is at past 3:30. So we can ensure that we're finished the work for the day. We don't take any appointments past starting at 4 p.m. So everybody is wrapped up by 4:30, and that gives the technical team enough time to get wrapped up for the day. And then also just making sure that we have blocked off spots as well to make that all work. So schedule callbacks for the veterinarians, so they have an extra hour each week after lunch where they have a scheduled blocked off portion for their callbacks, and then also daily catch-up slots as well. We run half-hour appointments for our wellness and 45-minute for our sick appointments, with those additional spots to make sure. And of course, it's a vet clinic. We always run into lunch. There's always drop-offs, but I'm very, very, like, I can very, very proudly say that I couldn't even count 5 times where the medical team had a case in the building past 5 o'clock. And because we have the opportunity to refer into the 24-hour clinic to be able to transfer cases, being where we are geographically.
Nice. So you've really been intentional about the design of how the day flows and how things go. So you're not sacrificing customer care um, for your staff, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I think our customers understand that we do bend over backwards for them. I'm sure they would all comment that, we're one of the most accommodating veterinary clinics, but we do it within the parameters that we can. And when we can't, then that clear communication with the clients as to why.
Cool. So then when you think about, so when you're talking about like that real focus on customer care, how do you balance that off with your staff? I mean, we talked a little bit about the leaving it on time, but how do you make sure that you're not kind of creating monsters out of your clients and abusing your staff essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it does start with choosing the staff, right? I think that starts right in that clear conversation with them. We have very frank conversations with them when they're interviewing about, that customer care experience is really important to us. So we are trying to self-select people that get a lot of personal benefit from that style, right? We recognize that there is people that just do not want to have that level of interaction with the customer. I've heard multiple veterinarians say that they refuse to make eye contact with anyone in the waiting room because then they have to dress and say hi and smile at the client, which is really, really sad for me because I'm, an extreme extrovert. So that self-selection of really describing to people, this is a different type of vet clinic in terms of what we expect in terms of those interactions. And like I said, it kind of self-select for people that enjoy the human interaction portion of their day more than anything else.
It kind of sounds like, an equine practice is a lot like bovine practice, and then it's very relationship centered. Like, your clients so well, and you're such a part of their lives. It sounds a lot like that in the way that you have. It sounds like it's very focused on the relationship. And although I think a lot of people, I don't think that everyone who's in large animal practice is an extrovert. People do really enjoy that part about it, and it's one of the things that they love so much. So, do you think that you have to be an extreme extrovert to survive and thrive at Fenvet?
So that's interesting. We have taken all personality profiles just to see where everybody lands, and I would say we do trend more on the extroverted side, but I wouldn't say it's an extreme. There certainly is a few of us extreme extroverts, but there's certainly the moderates as well. So I don't think necessarily that it is extroverted versus introverted all the time, as much as it is that appreciation with that human connection and that contact.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. So, and interesting that you've done those personality tests on your team, because it's good to know where you skew and where you land. It's helpful to know as you're working together too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I guess, Cody, tell me a bit about the positions that you have available right now, because I think some of the people would love to hear what you've got available, and then maybe we can talk a bit more about Fenvet and open the line as well for other people to ask questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just a little bit more context in terms of, the immediate need and then the future need as well. So when we opened the doors in April of 2021, I had the expectation that we would need probably one full-time vet equivalent for the first 8 months based off of industry standard market penetration. We were a brand new startup in town. There was already 6 veterinary clinics, 16 veterinarians that existed before we opened our doors. So I was very conservative in terms of what I thought we would be able to do. And 8 seconds into opening our doors, I realized that that what we're doing was really resonating with the local pet owner, and it was like a rocket ship ever since. So we do have immediate need for 2 more full-time equivalent veterinarians. I'm still seeking. We resonate extremely well with new graduates and with veterinary students. The thought of something new is really exciting. I would still love to be able to somehow figure out how to more often excite some of the old crusty veterinarians out there, because I want to be able to, be able to help continually mentor the team, elevate everyone's medicine, and be able to bring more veterinary students, increase our capacity with veterinary students, increase our capacity to bring in new grads. So like I said, we have really resonated very well with the younger veterinary community. But yeah, it's part of a bigger discussion of, where are all these 10-year out grads 10 plus years out? Are they so disenfranchised with the industry that they don't want to move anymore? That they just think it, is the same sort of BS everywhere, so they might as well just stick with the evil that I don't know. Is Fenvet too new and scary? That the ones that have already been out for a few years, is it just too much of a risk? I'm not sure, because on the flip side, we've done nothing but been able to attract the absolute most experienced and amazing veterinary technologists. So while our veterinary team is young, our technologists are very well seasoned and very passionate about the industry. 15, all of the technologists are 15 years plus. Lead technicians of their respected clinics. We still get lots of technologists applications of these very well-seasoned veterinary technologists. So it's interesting to see that dichotomy, that the vet technologists that have been in the industry for a long time are really excited about the new change and opportunities, whereas the younger veterinarians are the ones that seem to be more excited by it. So that is the immediate need. I would absolutely love to have an experienced set of 2 veterinarians come on. We have the demand, we have the team set up, we have an amazing thing going. And then on the same side, if that becomes the case, then I need to bring in even more technologists to be able to support those veterinarians. So another 2 to 4 technologists in terms of the immediate need. Because things have been going well, Fenvet is also launching our second location in downtown Calgary with a September start date. So I need to relive with my failures of not having multiple veterinarians raring to go with a startup, and be sure that I have that practice ready and staffed. I'm really excited to do everything over again. What we've done in terms of exciting our customers and giving them truly the best customer experience that they've ever had, not just in a vet clinic, but in any business. It's resonated so well that I couldn't not try to do it in a second location. And downtown Calgary seemed absolutely perfect in terms of the type of clientele that we attract.
Gotcha. So I guess what I kind of hear from this is like the people who are listening, who might be really into tech and might have who might have maybe had their ideas shut down in other locations. That would be the kind of person that I would see would be really successful in your practice, who has innovative ideas, or maybe even has, correct me if I'm wrong here, Cody, but I feel like maybe somebody with some really good like process and analytical skills would probably be such a nice complement to your team to look at how operations, like looking at how things might flow better, or even somebody who really loved teaching or being a mentor. Like those kind of people seem like they would be really good fits for your practice if they've been out in practice for a few years, that they would want to give back to students and create some, create an ongoing program that would be really cool, or build something. Am I on the right track there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those fit. And I think, at the core, somebody who just really wants to be in a great practice environment every day. We talked a lot about what we did in terms of for the customer, but a lot of what we did in building the actual physical space was for the team. So we made sure that the team is well cared for while they're in the four walls of the veterinary clinic, windows in the treatment room. So we have beautiful sunlight
Revolutionary.
streaming in, right? Pretty wallpaper in the dentistry suite, because we have to work there too. Fenvet, when you walk in, you don't even understand where you are. You think that you're in a spa. And we continue that aesthetic right past that treatment wall into the rest of the vet clinic, because we have to work there too. So somebody who's wants to move from dreading going to work every day because it's just not a great team, and it's the dark, dingy vet clinic that is cinder blocks and 1,000 years old, to something that's new and fresh and light and happy. That's the type of person that we can turn cases to and be able to collaborate. It's not even so much about mentorship as it is just somebody who is an individual that loves team collaboration and not working in a silo.
Okay, I love that. So yeah, I could see that those, but you know what, Cody, I will tell you that I get messages from people like that all the time. They're just like, I'm so disappointed with the place where I work. I'm just really disheartened. I just really want a place where I can be me, where I can bring ideas. So there are, and I feel like there's people who are probably here tonight, even like there's some great matches out there. I just know it. But I do hear those pieces coming through really clearly, that it would be helpful to have, somebody who could, who would really be interested in working with students, or who'd be really interested in teaching clients and stuff. And it also, if I'm correct, it kind of sounds like you attract a certain type of clientele. So I don't know if you can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah. In terms of our clientele, based off of our geography right now, certainly that millennial family, working in Calgary, living in Airdrie, owning 3 dogs, the demographic is fairly affluent. Being just in this geography, that is, our core demographic. We also really, really resonate a lot with the younger generation. So that kind of early 20s type of client that is just looking to get experience as well, an experience as well as their pet cared for. So this is becoming, more and more common with the newer generations, right? With Gen Z, there's a lot more of that sort of coveting that experience. They're much more willing to invest in not just, that specific service, but also, was the moment Instagrammable? The person who loves to come into a vet clinic that's surrounded with Italian line plaster, and they're sipping on their, we use this term called Fenny. So Fenny is a new word that we developed that essentially describes anything that we would do within Fenvet. So there's was your reaction with that client Fenny? Is the water that we picked Fenny? Is the cold brew coffee that we picked Fenny? Is the couch that we picked Fenny? Like it's this all-encompassing term that we use as a litmus test to decide anything, right? So when they're in drinking their Two Bears nitro cold brew coffee, taking their selfie inside their vet clinic, like that's the type of client that we appeal to. The ones that don't only want that service, but also want that experience. And to be honest with you, you know, our prices are moderate. Like we're not charging more for this experience. We're just investing into our clients for them to, you know, have their brains overloaded with serotonin and walk out of that vet clinic thinking, holy crap, that was way different than anything I've ever experienced before. And we get that comment every single day, all day long, of customers sending us emails, leaving Google reviews, sending us DMs, just saying like, I've been going to vet clinics for 25 years and I've never experienced anything like that. And it was amazing. So that's the type of person that we attract.
Cool. So I think that's oh, we've got a nice question here. So I'm gonna jump right in before I bombard you with another question. So what kind of systems have you had to employ to maintain Fenvet culture with staff? So for example, regular meetings, CE, customer service training. So basically, how do you maintain that culture and keep that momentum going?
For sure. So definitely all of that. So one-on-one meetings with our employees, team meetings with the different sort of groups within the vet clinic, staff meetings, absolutely. And then just that regular, I would say, fear-free communication with each other. We spent a lot of time, like I said, with the foundational veterinary technologist and customer care team, putting into place these, you know, this foundational pillars of what we're going to do, and essentially incorporating that new person in so they understand exactly what we're going for. Things like working interviews. We're really big on working interviews. We love working interviews because that allows us, you know, to the entire team to be able to have that say. So in terms of systems, it is truly, it all comes down to that communication, but that communication with that end goal in mind of we truly are trying to do something different here. Think about all of the, go for an experiment, go on to 5 different vet clinic websites and find their mission and read them, and they'll all make you throw up because
It'll all be very similar.
they're super lame, right? Like, we want to do the best medicine. Like, who doesn't? None of us graduate vet school or tech school and we want to do substandard
average
medicine, right? So it means nothing. It truly means nothing. And it's not something that's a guiding light within that team. The team is never thinking back like best medicine, best medicine, best medicine. It's not truly a mission. It's not, you know, that guiding star, that light that we are trying to strive for. So I think that is so incredibly important in the main system, that we all clearly understand what we're trying to do, and that we have that permission to communicate and to everybody have a say. One thing that the team brings up very often that they believe is so novel and different at Fen versus any other vet clinic that they've been at is that they feel like they matter no matter where their role is, that it doesn't, there's no delineation between what the veterinarian is doing and what the client care coordinator is doing and what the TA is doing, and everybody on the team understands that without that person, this whole thing doesn't work. So there's no hierarchy that exists in a lot of other clinics. The client care coordinators don't feel like they're the peons of the vet clinic and are talked down to, because their role is equally as important to us, because that customer experience is so important. Of course, the veterinarian has to do their job, but we view ourselves as equals within that.
Got it. I think that's really important. And that's very refreshing, I think. So Jessica also asked if you feel like if you often need longer appointment times. I think you answered that you said you have about 30 minutes for new clients, or for, sorry, maybe I'll let you answer.
No, you're right. So 30 minutes for wellness. So wellness and vaccine appointments are 30 minutes, and like I said, 45 for our sick appointments. So we do allow some breathing room within those experiences.
Nice. So yeah, I think is there anything else that you feel like people should know about Fenvet, or if they were thinking about getting in touch with you about a role?
Yeah, I think that covers a lot. I think I've been clear in terms of what we are trying to do. I think I've been clear in terms of the type of people that we're looking for, both in terms of the immediate need and then also in the future need, which I would love to fill those spots now. Of course, when we're talking about filling a role with a veterinarian, sometimes it can take months, right? So like, I'm open to having those discussions. If somebody isn't ready and willing right now, like, let's look at what this potentially looks like, and would love to just answer anybody's questions. I'm always super accessible. My email is cody@fenvet.com. Anybody can reach out, but I think one of the things that is the hardest to convey, or two things that are very, very difficult to convey, are, number one, I don't think anybody can appreciate through looking at our videos or our pictures of the overall design and detail to design that we have put into the veterinary clinic, and knowing that when you walk in, your brain is overpowered with flooding dopamine and serotonin because it is so incredibly different. There's no phones ringing. There's spa music playing in the front. There's specific scents that we've curated. We have an oil diffuser, so we have this specific scent. It's perfectly clean. The Italian lime plaster, the handmade lamps from Quebec, it is hard to convey that, right? But you feel different when you're in the vet clinic versus any other vet clinic that I've been in. Every vet clinic I've ever been to is not welcoming. I've never felt welcomed in somebody else's vet clinic before. I've never felt, that I'm part of it when I'm inside of it. So that's really hard to convey. And then my amazing team is also very, very hard to convey. We get this comment all the time from students that come in, new employees that come in. They always comment they've never seen such a welcoming team in their life, because we've been so clear on what we're trying to do. And we've also selected the right individuals to be able to do it. So that's hard to convince, people over the internet that team dynamic is a beautiful thing that we have.
I love that. Is a question from someone in Canada, and they would like to know, do you have to feel comfortable on video to work at your clinic?
So I would say the good proportion, or everybody except for me, does not feel comfortable on video. For sure. So not a requirement, but we do. I think we do want people that appreciate the benefit, that breaking down those walls and showing the humanity within a veterinary clinic makes everything better. The example that I've been using for years with my cow vet videos is when you put yourself out there, which is scary. We all hate it. I hate the sound of my own voice. We all hate the sound of our own voice. We hate how we look on video. It's terrifying. It's mortifying. I wasn't special in that, like, I could turn a camera onto my face and not be mortified. So that's why I pushed published on YouTube. I hated it. I hated how I looked and how I sounded, and I over enunciated everything. It's terrible and mortifying. But when I walk into an appointment, or when I would go to a farm call, and the client that you've never met before greets you like an old friend and already trusts you because of what they've seen on the internet, that's extremely powerful, that I don't think can ever be discounted. So there is, while I don't think anybody ever feels fully comfortable. I do think that people who understand the power of that human connection and breaking down those walls and taking, veterinary professionals off of this pillar that we're not, these all powerful beings, that we're humans too. And I feel like that translates into the types of interactions that we have with our customers.
Gotcha. Okay. Another question, another private question was, do you feel like you have less grumpy clients and less client complaints, or less negative client interactions than your average veterinary clinic because of the way that you set Fenvet up?
Absolutely. And one example, the person who asked that, the next time that they feel super, super upset, I want them to sit down and to crack a can of sparkling water and drink half of it and tell me how they feel when they're done. It is actually, this is proven scientifically that it is impossible for us to be really upset while we were eating or drinking. This goes back to when we're infants. Babies cry until they get the bottle. That is not just because they're now happy. It is physically impossible for you to be a sobbing mess while you're eating or drinking something. So yes, that's just such a small thing, but add that all together, and I do think our interactions are more positive because we showcase that humanity through our social media, because we don't make people wait to be spoken to when they walk into the vet clinic, because we do go over the top in terms of aesthetic and design, and you're soothed by that spa music, and from the that interaction of that veterinarian walking into that appointment every single time with this expectation that I'm going to hit it out of the park with this client and we're going to have a great experience, and this interaction is going to fill my cup as opposed to drain me. Every single thing that we do is to make that that customer care experience better, which then of course translates to easier interactions. Now, of course, we get all kinds of issues, right? We're a business, we're a vet clinic. You guys know exactly what that looks like, the steps that are missed, the breakdowns of communication. We are human at the end of the day, but do I think on the aggregate that it does improve it? Absolutely, 100%. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise.
Okay, thank you. So what I kind of hear from that is that, everything is kind of priming the pump for a better day for you as a veterinarian or as the technologist, because your whole team is interacting to kind of make everybody happier, so that they're breaking down the barriers or removing those pieces that might make people immediately grumpy, that we kind of set you up for a negative interaction.
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay. And then another question is around advancement. So when we think about pouring a bunch of our ideas into something and pouring our heart and soul into a place, what are the opportunities for advancement within Fenvet?
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes back just to what my goals are as a business owner. I by no means started this journey with a singular clinic on my mind. I wanted to create a brand and a business model where I could recreate this over and over again. Now, I didn't know if it was going to work, right? It was just a thesis originally. I've been able to prove out that thesis, that it is resonating with the customer, that it is resonating with the veterinary care team, that we are moving the needle forward, that we are working towards that paradigm shift. But I want to do that again and again and again. So that is, where the true opportunity for advancement comes from, is those people that see what we're doing and want to be able to replicate that over and over and over again. So yes, there's always going to be that opportunity. An example would be on a one-on-one with one of my client care coordinators this week. We identified that she does have that aspiration to be, the lead trainer of the next clinic for our client care coordinators, because she was the original one that helped develop everything that we do. And she has that aspiration, not necessarily because she covets advancement, but because she sees how important it is, and that more customers deserve that type of interaction, across the industry. So we do work on, those individual conversations with each one of of our employees. We have set, what is that professional goal? Where do people want to be, what their motivations are, and how can we get there? That is my job as a leader. That is more important than anything, is to identify what somebody's goals are and to help them get there, even if that means that potentially makes them leave Fenvet. If there's a veterinarian that comes to me with the aspiration that they want to do their own startup vet clinic, then I'm going to lead them towards that, even knowing that they are going to be leaving me one day, because there's no other option. There's no other option, because if I don't give that to them and don't encourage them and don't give them the tools for them to pursue their dreams, then they're not going to give me their best when they're there with me during that time. So I'm under no disillusion. There will be people that come and leave because they have goals outside of Fenvet. But if there is a goal within, then we're going to achieve that together, because that's my role as a leader. That's my role as a manager, to work towards what they want and what they need.
I've never heard somebody so eloquently say kind of exactly how I feel about employee advancement. So that's great. And I guess what I kind of hear about that is that, yeah, so just that there's opportunities within there. And I also kind of heard that, based on how you're talking about your one-on-ones, is that it's not like you don't just get your one chance for feedback is not just that one time where you have your annual review and you leave disappointed and maybe in tears. So is that right?
That's right. So I start off all the one-on-ones is there's nothing wrong, because if there was something wrong, it would have been addressed before this meeting. So there's never anything scary in them. Of course, there's always constructive criticism, but there's, if there was something actually wrong, then we're going to address that right away and not leave it and let it fester, right? We're always trying to focus on that communication.
Got it. Okay. All right. I got one other question here. So what do you do to take care of yourself and continue to grow as a leader as this team evolves?
Yeah, so doing exactly this, there's nothing more that gets me excited, that gives me personal fulfillment than doing what I'm doing now. Like I said, I had a clean slate to reimagine what I was going to do in my next phase of my career. So I'm doing exactly what fills my cup every single day. I've created this business, this clinic, this set of clinics to be able to fulfill that. So it's the thing that I covet and want the most, because it surrounds me with the thing that I'm passionate the most about, and that's veterinary medicine. I'm super lame, and I truly mean it when I say it. I don't like anything else. I love my family and I love veterinary medicine, and I don't do anything else beyond those two things. I don't watch sports. I don't do anything else besides, fill my family's needs and then also work on veterinary medicine, because it's just like it's been my dream job since, I essentially opened my eyes as a 16-year-old. So that, like, nothing makes me more happy than being in a vet clinic. Nothing makes me more happy than being in a treatment room and seeing that team just gelled and jiving and all the gears rolling and all the chaos ensuing. And that's my happy place.
Nice. And have you pursued any personal development pieces to try to and to continually improve yourself?
Well, absolutely. I every piece of content that I consume is around that, for improving myself as a manager, improving myself as a leader, from self-development books and podcasts, and just learning about different stories of business. That's probably like my number one sort of outlet is learning about the genesis of different businesses, because I can always take that little piece of that diamond out of that story to improve what we're doing at Fen.
Nice, thanks. So you're also going to post those jobs on the DVM project recruitment site, and then you mentioned your email. Maybe you want to just mention it again. We got a couple more questions, so that's exciting. So go ahead and mention your email again, where they can find you or where they can check you out to see more details if they want to creep around and get some more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So the email is cody@fenvet.com, or you can do info@fenvet.com. Our website is fenvet.com. And of course, on pretty much any social media platform, just type in Fenvet Clinic and you'll be able to kind of get a glimpse into the day-to-day of what we're trying to do. In terms of the job advertisement, I wrote this fake job ad recently, or maybe it's not even fake, it's how I actually felt, because I hate typical classified ads, just like how I think about everything, right? I think about like, why does the industry do what it does? And is that the best possible way? And you look through the classified ads right now, which I do often because I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to like, how am I, what is everybody else offering? What can I offer that's different, that's better, that's worded different, that the message is conveyed? And I just get so bummed out when I just read the typical classified ad of like, most of them don't even tell you where they are. So they just expect you to know where, Peak Animal Clinic is. They don't say what city it is. And then when you go look it up, their website is usually crap. So you can't even tell, what town that they're in. And then they go on to say, looking for a great veterinarian. And then they list out the equipment that they have. Like, it's 2022.
Nobody cares about your blood machine.
Exactly. Nobody does. And then they list out like, we do surgery here, and we have IDEX, and we have an ultrasound. Oh my goodness. Like it makes absolutely no sense. And then they say like, average or above average compensation, which also means absolutely nothing. So I wrote this like really ranty classified ad. Maybe I'll send it to you in private to get you to read it, to see if I should to see if it's too ranty and crapping on everybody else's classified ad. But in my ads, I'm trying to be as simple as possible, and I'm hoping that our story speaks for itself. So in our advertising, we don't talk about compensation, but like I have no problem with talking about compensation, because I feel like we have, world-class compensation packages at Fen, because that's just what we do, right? That's, just another extension of everything that we do. We provide 100% benefits. We don't dock anybody's paycheck, because that drives me crazy. I hate when businesses have, we give you health benefits and then they dock 50% of the monthly premium off of your paycheck. That's not benefits, right? We provide I know for a fact above average, compensation for support team. I went above and beyond for everybody, because I knew, what it feels like for people to live paycheck to paycheck, for people to be in this industry, and I want them to have longevity. Providing things like cell phone. Everybody in the vet clinic, I pay their cell phone. Scrubs, I buy everybody 5 sets, tops and bottoms of FIG scrubs. I buy everybody shoes. Everybody gets a pair of Vessi shoes when they start at Fenvet. We even put in what's called a unicorn clause, which is just something that's really, really fun that they get to put in their letter of offer of something that they get. So it can range from everything. I have a veterinarian who has a unicorn clause that she gets first right of refusal on any Frenchie, Pug, or Boston when they come in the door. She gets first right of refusal on vaccine appointments. I have a client care coordinator who, if the temperature goes over 30 degrees Celsius, I have to buy the whole team bubble tea. So I have to provide refreshments. I have a vet tech who's I have to make sure that there's always hot chocolate in the vet clinic because she doesn't drink coffee. And I have a tech assistant who's probably the most creative and the sneakiest when it comes to unicorn clause, but she is allowed 3 times per year, if it snows over 7 centimeters in the mountains, that she's allowed to take a day off, no questions asked, so she can go snowboarding in the mountains.
Okay, well, please talk about that in your ad. Please talk about that first. That's probably the coolest thing I've ever heard from an employment contract. Cool. So, and then this person would like to know, do you have future goals to expand across Canada?
Yes, absolutely. So there's no question. We will be doing a second location in Calgary in 2022. I would like to do a third location in Calgary in 2023. Once that we have been able to establish that sort of core group of practices, I would love nothing more than to be able to expand what we're doing at Fenvet across Canada and the US. Any demographic, any geographic area that would appreciate nitro cold brew coffee in an exam room, there needs to be a Fenvet. So I envision Palm Springs Fenvet, and I envision Austin, Texas Fenvet, and West Palm Beach Fenvet, and Manhattan Fenvet. That's what I would love. I would love nothing more than to be able to recreate what we've done here elsewhere. But the biggest factor is humans, right? I can build vet clinics all day long. I love it with all my heart. I can lead that team. I can put that team together if I have the right people. And that is that's the rate limiting bottleneck within this industry. That is my greatest fear. That is my greatest risk, that I can put amazing individuals into the place. I can do the rest. The rest is easy. The hard part is finding those amazing individuals and putting them in the right spot at the right time. So that's the hard thing with this profession. We all know what is going on. We see the hundreds and hundreds of vacancies for veterinarians and veterinary technologists, and it is difficult and scary. And that's my greatest limiting factor at this point.
Well, thanks for trying to put something else that's different. And now I'm kind of thinking of like, what would my unicorn clause be, and why don't I have one at my work?
Exactly.
I need one of those. It's very cool.